Hey everyone, Hexlex here, coming at you with some more Master Duel. In today's video, we're going to take another look at our Tri-Brigade Lyrilusc, aka Bird Up deck, and let's go ahead and take a look. Now, I did make a one-card change that I covered in my review of the Season 1 video. However, I just wanted to make the change clear in this video before I went ahead and got started. The change that I made was that I took out one Cobalt Sparrow for one Fire Formation Tenki. So really, the main reason that I did that was the Tenki gets us Fractal, is the only target in our deck, which is really actually going to unbrick a lot of the cards, or a lot of the hands that we have, where we're holding a lot of cards that don't necessarily work well together, but getting a Lyrilusc in the graveyard, mainly it's going to either turn on a Turquoise Warbler or Beryl Canary. And really drawing the Cobalt Sparrow isn't always that great, because while the search is extremely valuable, she doesn't actually like advance our board anymore. She only searches when she's special summoned, right? She's not like Swallow, who can summon another wing beast. Same with Warbler, with Beryl Canary. In fact, she's kind of comparable to Wagtail in that regard. Obviously, Wagtail searches the spells and traps, but the Wing Beast tends to be a bit more valuable to search because it can get the Nervall. But, yep, even though the Fractal is the only target for Tenki, which is why I only want one copy, I could see maybe playing two, but I wouldn't go as much as three, my personal opinion, unless you had other Wing Beasts, or not Wing Beasts, Beast Warriors to run. Yeah, so honestly, I think that's going to be very helpful going in the future, and as we're going to see in some of these replay games, I believe at least one or two of them, Tenki is going to really help us out. Did I say Tenki? Well, they kind of sound the same. Anyway, I'm just going to go ahead and show off all the cards in the extra deck. I want to go through and make sure I click them one by one, so that, because I know not everyone is like as familiar with the game as maybe some other people are, so like it does help to see the individual cards. I just wanted to make sure I went ahead and showed those to you. Without further ado, let's go ahead and take a look at some of those replays. I've actually got a whole bunch saved up here from yesterday, just playing around on rank 1, but we'll go ahead and save a few of those for a future video. We'll just go ahead and start down here at the bottom. Yeah, I've been having a lot of fun playing this deck. Bird Up is great. I kind of wish I would have tried to climb with it now a little bit, to be honest. I really liked climbing with Tri-Zoo, not only because it's the most familiar deck to me personally, but I also think it's the most well-rounded deck in the format in general. But that being said, Lyrilusc, while it's more risky in that it's a little more combo intensive, it is also very fun. It's a very, very fun deck to pilot. Alright, so our opponent is going to start off with the Prosperity. Looks like they are playing a Dragon Maid deck. As always, we are going to do our best to bully the poor Dragon Maid players. Although this time, unlike pretty much any other game we're fighting against Dragon Maids, we don't have like an Impermanence or an Ash to negate their stuff, so we actually get to see what they do a little bit here. Not for a change. What a concept! Letting a deck play out its combos. The Heretic Seal of the Heavenly Spheres. This card is extremely annoying. It's kind of like Ancient Warriors for Double Dragon's Oath. I need to keep saying that card's full name. It's like Double Dragon's Oath for dragons, pretty much. So here we do have the Lightning Storm. We're going to get rid of our opponent's back row, which ended up being the Tidying and the Dynamiscus, so definitely glad we hit that first. We're going to Tenki into our Fractal. As you can see, it's going to get Ashed. However, even though I have the Called by the Grave, you notice I did not use it on the Fractal. And that is because I already have the Bird Call and I can continue my combo. I'm saving the Called by for a little bit later. You might be able to already figure out I'm going to end up using it against the Heretic Seal, because I'm pretty confident my opponent's just going to tribute the seal itself in order to get its effect. And this way I can just get rid of the seal, negate the effects, then I won't get interrupted, and I can just go into my combo, and then I don't have to worry about the Dragon Maid monster. Yeah, our opponent's just going to concede there because they know it's pretty much over at this point. So that's why I wanted to share this game in particular. Interesting use of Called by the Grave. It's so easy to, think in your brain like, oh, Called by equals negate hand trap. But we have to keep in mind that Called by the Grave has actually a lot more uses than that. Again, as I've said in the past, I will concede that its main use is to stop hand traps, but it can stop plenty of other kind of effects as well. Alright, let's go ahead and go into this next game. You see, even though this is a loss, I kept this one, because I think this one's actually a pretty interesting game. I noticed on the excuse me, I noticed on the new mic you can actually hear me taking sips of water, which is like kind of cool that it picks that up, but also kind of not. I don't know. Yeah, so as you can see, even though we go first, we open a very much going second hand. We've got Ash, DD Crow, and Imperm, but we don't really have a combo to go off with. Now, our opponent plays good old Goki Pole here, which is a card I have never seen before, but is actually, you know, looking at it, not too bad. So, looks like our opponent is playing some sort of insect deck. I don't know if this is, like, actually a thing, or if my opponent just, like, homebrewed this, but I really wanted to show this game off because my opponent's deck is really cool. So they're going to Call by the Fractal. As again, you know, I said before, Call by is useful for many things, not just negating hand traps. Although Fractal is kind of like a, well, it's more of a hand spell, right? It's like a discard to Foolish Burial. Interestingly, our opponent does not have anything else. They're just going to smack us with Goki Pole, set a monster, and then pass. So it's funny, right? Because, like, this game, I'm looking at my hand, and I'm just thinking to myself, looking at my opponent's board, wow, if I had actually opened a somewhat normal hand, see, they do have the Maxx. I have the Call by, though, so I am going to be able to combo. But yeah, I'm looking at my hand like, if I had opened somewhat, like, even of a more normal hand, I would have just comboed all over this player. But in a way, I'm actually kind of glad that didn't happen. I think my opponent was ranked Plat 1, so I don't think... Because I was going to say, like, if I helped them get, you know, higher in the ranks, but if I remember right, they were Plat 1, actually. So here, I'm just going to make Ensemblue Nightingale, because, you know, I can't really go into a whole lot else. And at least by doing this, I can go into Downerd Magician, and then I can make a 5-material Zeus. And, again, me and my arrogance... Like, I totally thought I was fine here. I'm like, what is this random-ass insect deck? Goki Pole. My opponent hit me for 1,000, set a monster, and pass. Whatever, I'm going to make Zeus. Clearly, they're not going to do anything. They then flip the Goki Pole, or the Goki Boar, I think it's called. Yeah, itself, which I guess is, like, what this deck is based on. I'm going to Ash their Goki Pole. You know, it's funny, these Japanese puns would work a lot better if they had actually been, like, translated. Our opponent's got... What is this card again? I totally missed it. Tenyi Spirit. Hang on, I have to look at that. Tenyi Spirit Vishuddha. You can special summon, control non-effect, and banish the target one. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I never heard of this card before in my life. Tenyis sound a little familiar. That's an archetype, if I remember right. But alas, our opponent's got Interrupted Kaiju Slumber. So that's going to clear away our our Zeus there, and then now we're just pretty much, not even pretty much, we're in top decking mode. And of course we, in the theme against our opponent, peeled Maximum C off the top of the deck. I don't know why I called it Maximum. Its name is just Maxx. You'd think it would be like a Maximum C in the OCG, but I think Maxx C was actually a TCG exclusive, if I recall correctly. But yeah, like I said, we don't really have a whole lot we can do here. Our opponent's got us down to 2,000. Funnily enough, I don't know if they did this on purpose, but they kept the insect kaiju, so they really are an insect deck through and through. Yeah, like I said, I gotta give my opponent like total props here. This was a very cool deck to play against, and in that way, it was also a really cool deck to lose against. Especially since I'm already at Plat 1, it's like, whatever. This is kind of like why I was excited to get to Plat 1. Not just because, like, I wanted to see off-meta stuff, and not just like, oh, I want to see off-meta stuff so I can get easier wins. Like, I like seeing decks like this, especially when they succeed. Yeah, our opponent's got the Evenly Matched, which is going to take care of our Fractal, but we do still get to at least keep our Omen. I'm going to Maxx C here, just during my opponent's draw phase, because I figured, like, they're at 1,700, I've got a 3,000 attack monster, they're going to have to special to get over this and win, right? So I might as well just Maxx C right at the start. And, actually, I end up getting proven wrong, because they only need one special summon in order to do me in here. And they summon this, oh, what was this monster? Oh, I guess I don't get to click on it now. This insect normal monster. I have to admit that was a really cool way for them to end the duel. So, little golf clap for my opponent there. Very cool deck. I would look at the list, but in my first take of this video, I tried to look at it like 2 times, and every time I tried to look at this guy's list, the game crashed. So maybe he's just like on some complete next level shit. Without further ado, let's go ahead and take a look at the next replay here. Okay, so we've got an interesting opening hand, and by interesting I mean weird. So we're gonna have to summon our Nervall and go into our Almirage, which is, like Tri-Zoo, why Almirage is so good to have in your extra deck, because you see how janky and weird this hand was, and Almirage just completely unbricked it. So our opponent is going to have the Maxx, but as you can see, we have the Called by the Grave. I have considered possibly crafting Nobleman of... wait, what is it called? No, Crossout Designator. It's not Nobleman of anything. Yeah, I have considered main decking, as if we have a side deck, playing some Crossout Designators in this deck, but one, I'd have to craft them, and I am trying to conserve Ultra Craft points. I am still in the process of like considering what deck I want to build next. I have seen a couple of comments asking for Virtual World, and well, being the meta sheep that I am, I do like my tier 1 decks. And so, you know, I've had my eye on Virtual World. I've had my eye on a couple of other more rogue decks, maybe some anti-meta stuff. Admittedly, I have to admit that when I played the TCG, like in like the game in real life, the paper card game, especially when I was younger, and playing in high school, I didn't really have that much, you know, money to spend on expensive cards, so I would frequently run like anti-meta stun decks. And honestly, if I were playing the TCG right now, I'd probably be like one of those filthy Eldritch players, I'm not gonna lie. But Master Duel does make it a bit easier to craft a tier 1 deck without having to dump a whole bunch of money into it. So let's see, it's still our first turn. You gotta love the good old Lyrilusc. You know, again, if we hadn't had the call by, that would have been pretty bad. I apologize. I remember where I was now. I was talking about Crossout Designator. Yeah, so I don't really at the time feel I need to craft the Crossout Designators specifically for this deck. If I happen to build them for another deck, I might think about including them in this build. But really, Maxx is the hand trap that we're most scared of. And honestly, we've got the Called Bys for hand traps in general, but we also have Ashes, which can stop Maxx, so I'm thinking that's probably good enough, you know, to stop, again, Maximum C in particular. I said Maximum again. Because, you know, like, Ash kind of sucks. Like, a well-timed Ash can ruin our combos, but generally, it's easier to play through than Maxx. Like, Maxx we just can't play through. I think I was counting earlier, and it takes, like, minimum... like 6 or 7 special summons just to make the Utopic Draco alone, let alone, you know, go into any of our other combo stuff. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure in this scenario I did as much damage as I could. I remember when I was actually playing this out, I stopped and counted multiple times just to make sure. I guess we could have tried going into Downerd Magician before going into battle phase. Ooh, I didn't even think about that. See, I always, again, and this is a mentality you want to avoid. In my brain, like, Downerd Magician equals extra material for Zeus. But we have to keep in mind that there are other situations that Downerd Magician could actually help us out. I'd have to go back and I was rambling about other stuff and I missed the actual gameplay. So I don't know if that would have actually been lethal or not, but I don't know. I did also kind of want to just set up the Zeus, but we could have done that with Downerd anyway. Regardless, we did end up winning the duel, so if it was a misplay, it was a relatively minor one, although missing lethal is actually always just probably just a major misplay, to be honest. Yeah, lethal, just because even if you win anyway, it's like you still should have seen the lethal, so... At least that's what I think of, you know, that's how I kind of critique myself in some ways. In any case, let's move on to the next replay. Yeah, because it's like there are some misplays that you're cool with just letting slide. because it kind of works out anyway. But honestly, most of the time, you really should be like mentally noting, or even physically on like a piece of paper or something, like noting misplays, especially if you make the same ones a lot. I've done that in the past, and I find it to be very helpful. Ah, yes. Now here we have an interesting... We kind of just have to set our Sparrow, Imperm, and Called By and pass here. Our opponent's playing Zefra, which I am pretty sure this is the first time I've played against it. It's like Zefras and DDDs. I really like DDDs. I really particularly... I think I've mentioned this before, actually, but I like the character in the show, Arc V, Reggie, that plays DDDs, and so in turn I like DDDs a lot. Actually, this card is pretty much like a JoJo stand of Reggie. It just looks exactly like him. But I only say that because I've seen comments saying that. I've never actually watched JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, so... But I vaguely know what the stands are. But anyway, we're going to max C when they throw their scales down, because once they throw the scales down, they only have like 3 other cards in their hand. They're pretty committed to special summoning, so I feel fairly confident that we're going to get at least a few draws here. And I think we do end up with 3. Or it looks like it was 2, but that's still good. One of them was Turquoise Warbler, and the other was Tenki, so that's obviously really, really good for us. Our opponent's only got 1 back row, and we can actually stop it with Impermanence, so I'm not really scared of anything my opponent can do, because I'm going to flip up the Imperm, I'm going to negate the Heralds so none of our stuff gets banished, and I mean, our opponent's going to counter with the Pillars of Yangzing, but this actually doesn't ultimately even end up mattering, because I'm pretty sure we still just are able to go into our full combo, because everything is going from the field to the graveyard. We're not necessarily like discarding anything. And Herald, if I recall correctly, yeah, it's monsters sent from the hand or main deck to the graveyard get banished instead. So all of our birds are still going to go to the graveyard. We're still going to be fine in that regard. And yeah, I mean, from here, if you've watched the combo video, then you'll know pretty much exactly what we're about to do here. Again, as always, or rather as I always say, with this deck in particular, it's less about knowing the specific things you can do with specific combinations of cards. Like, you know, reading a piece of paper. Like, it's, yeah, I mean, yeah, you could print a list and be like, oh, if I have Turquoise Warbler plus Wagtail, I can do this combo. But honestly, once you play the deck enough, practice is always going to make perfect, right? You could print that sheet out or like pull it up on your screen and read it over and over and over again. But really, once you actually play with the deck, and you could even start by playing against an AI, like in solo mode. That's exactly what I did with Tri-Brigade Lyrilusc. When I crafted it, I did not go straight into ranked. I went to a solo mode AI, and I just like sat there and like surrendered and like started the games over and just did a bunch of opening hands. Eventually just, of course, this is in addition to like looking up guides and watching videos about the deck. I didn't just go blind and do it, but really just practicing those. You'll then start to look at opening hands and spot your plays, like just being able to spot your combos and be like, okay, well, I can kind of finagle my way into this combo. As again, as opposed to being like, okay, I need to remember, okay, let me pull up my reference sheet, like, what's this combination? Like, that's just, I don't know, that's too much, I think. Better to just practice and get it all in the noodle. Okay, so our opponent's going to try to activate their, what is this contract? The one that searches a DDD card, but we've got the Ash. I mean, our opponent only has like 2 of these Pendulum monsters in the extra deck. I'm not really concerned with what they can do. This Symphonic Warrior Pendulum monster, I'm seriously gonna bounce like 3 times with my my Ensemble Robin here. Which again, I think this is actually technically Ensemblue Robin, but I don't know, whatever. Ensemble Robin, it makes more sense. Yeah, we're just gonna be bouncing their mic. I mean, they're going to add another one of these dark contracts, but there's not really a whole lot they can do with it. They're also going to stack up a whole bunch of extra normal summons, but again, they're not going to be able to do a whole lot with that either. And yeah, because they can only use this effect once per turn, so even though they got another one, they can't... I don't know if that was a misplay or if they just had nothing to add, but either way, they're just going to go ahead and concede after that. Okay, so let's see. I believe we have one replay left to watch for this video, and that's going to be this one here. And the rest we will save for potentially the next video. I might, it'll depend on the ordering that these recordings come out. Because I don't know, I'd like to hear from you guys in the comments, like exactly, I don't know, like which, do you like seeing, you know, the same deck have some replays like multiple days in a row? Do you like me to like mix it up and do, you know, different decks on each day? I kind of meantime, since I've started, I've kind of just been uploading things just in the order that I record them pretty much, but I might start playing around with the order that I do that in, if it makes more sense to me. Yeah, so here, I mean, this looks like an unimpressive kind of combo, right? It's like, oh, Warbler and Sapphire Swallow, but remember, we didn't use Sapphire Swallow's effect to get that special summon, so we do still get to search one with Recital Starling, and from here we can just kind of pivot into our fairly standard combos. Our opponent did have the Maximum C, but I keep saying Maximum, I'm on that now. But, as always, we have the Called By. Well, not as always. I mean, I will admit, you know, I have losses that I don't show because they're not interesting. And with this deck, not a lot, but I'd say probably like 2-3 of those losses in this recording, or this dueling session. Honestly, yeah, like 2 or 3 of those were just, I'd special summon, my opponent would max C, I'd have to stop, they'd combo, I wouldn't have a hand trap, and they'd win. Which, I mean, you know, it happens, right? Obviously, it's going to happen to our opponent, like it's happening right now. You know, they had the hand trap, but we had the Called By. Okay, our opponent's going to play a Prosperity, and by flipping, or rather by the cards they are flipping over, it looks like they are a Generator deck, which I've actually never played against Generators before. Always, like I said, in a past video, it's always, oh, and then they just concede, which is a little unfortunate. I was interested to see what Generators were going to do. I was just going to say, it's always this like cool feeling when I see a rogue deck I've never played against, because I've been gone, or because I had been, before I started playing Master Duel, I had been gone from the game for 5 years, but alas, perhaps another time we can see what Generators are capable of. In the meantime, that is going to do it for this video. As always, I greatly appreciate you guys watching. As I've said, you know, if you have any suggestions for decks you would like to see me try, if you have suggestions for even just general gameplay videos you would like to see, I am always open to hear your suggestions in the comments. Once again, thank you for watching, and this is XLex, signing out. Have a great day.